Welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka. You're with me, Anu, and we are with Arundhati Sivagurunathan. We're talking about how and why children lie. And just before the commercial break, you mentioned, ma'am, that this is actually a resolvable problem, which is a huge news for me. So I want you to elaborate on that, please.
Resolvable, plus you can avoid it completely, right?
Thank God.
So, yes. I guess a few tips to consider is how you handle your child, right? You need to always encourage them to say the truth, right? Always.
Right.
And of course you need to role play it, because if your life is littered with full of white lies, your child is going to pick it up from you, right?
Yeah.
And of course you need to check why the child is acting like that. As I said, can be low self-esteem and attention. So you need to have a plan of reward system, or find ways to praise the child and increase their esteem.
Nice.
Right?
Okay.
And
do they have to do it daily?
Of course, for a child, it's very important, isn't it, for them to get
but sometimes parents tend to just forget about the whole encouraging your child thing. They're just leaving their child alone, right, after they come back after work. So, like you said, it's very important to daily go after them and see what they did, and encourage them for what they do, and all
listen to them.
Listen to them.
A lot of reassurances. And of course, I would say last but the least, but when you started the conversation, never label your child a liar, right? Talk about in a different perspective, like truthful or untruthful, and always tell them, I believe in you, so don't make it difficult for me to not believe you.
Nice. Okay, but like you said, example also matters.
100% role modeling.
Right. And how do you avoid this kind of situation? How do you avoid this situation when your child is lying? Basically, you said before that you can come into a good conversation with them and say, okay, let's sit down and discuss what happened today. If you can tell me the truth, it's alright, I'm not going to condemn you. But what else can parents do in order for that sort of relationship between them to stay?
Attachment parenting. I always encourage attachment parenting, and open-minded. You have to be really open-minded with your children, right?
Okay.
And it's easier said than done, because the last thing you want to find out is your child is not truthful to you, right? So, but then, as I said, always analyze the situation. Things just don't happen.
Yeah.
Right? Things just don't happen. And avoid making excuses for your children, because I've seen most parents make excuses for their child. Like, for example, if they don't do schoolwork or miss practice, the mothers write letters saying that, something happened. Right?
Yeah.
Which is not. Because you always need to tell them, if you do something wrong, there is consequence. I'll support you. I'll be by your side if you're scared to talk to the teacher, but you need to encourage them to face situation and set very realistic goals about your expectation to the child.
Right.
They deliver it.
Yeah, when it comes to telling the child exactly what you want, like you said, setting realistic expectations, how do you really communicate that sort of thing with a very young child? Say, like you said before, say a 3-year-old came out lying, and basically you got to know that he or she was lying. How do you communicate to a 3-year-old child that what you did is wrong? You can't basically have a heart-to-heart thorough discussion with a child because he's only 3. So how do you really have that sort of conversation?
Depends on what he did. Say, for example, that he comes home and tells you that somebody hit him, or he's making up a story, and it really didn't happen, because first thing when a child says that, you check with the teacher, right? So the teacher says, look, it didn't happen.
Yes.
So maybe you should tell him one-on-one, encourage him with realistic stories, like, as I said, the boy and the wolf kind of thing.
Right.
To tell them lying is not a good habit.
Right.
Being truthful is always the best way to handle things. Pinocchio is good to start off with. What happened?
Pinocchio is really good.
Really good. So give them little ideas of doing things.
Okay.
And tell them, look, lying is not encouraged, and this is not going to be the way. I don't like you lying to me.
Good. Your answer for this question actually led me to the next one, which is, as adults, not just parents, do we actually encourage children to lie unknowingly, unintentionally? Do you see that mostly happening in the society right now?
Okay. We do unknowingly. I think the first thing parents do is when they go to the theater, basically movie theater, or take them to a pool, or even go to a hotel, they lie about the child's age, right?
Right.
Yes, they do that.
Yes.
And I've seen instances where the child says, no, I'm not 3, I'm 5, and the father and mother is like giving them the look,
Yeah.
don't embarrass me. So you're encouraging the child to watch you lie. And mostly parents do this to avoid social inconveniences, right?
Yeah.
But again, you're portraying a wrong behavior. So it has to start from you. And I think another way a parent really address children lying is by yelling at them, right?
Okay.
And because they can't take up that they actually learn something from them, so they are trying to cover
Defend themselves.
Defend themselves, right? So it's no point trying to put the child into that situation where you interrogate them or put pressure and try to tell them don't do it again. Always play that supportive role, be there for them, but of course you need to have set expectations from them.
Yeah, realistic ones, like
you have to have.
Yeah. So last but not least, how do we raise a truthful child? What are the values we need to put into them?
Number one is being connected. You need to be very connected with your child.
Okay.
And be very open-minded about situations. Always
can you give us an example, ma'am, about being open-minded parents?
Open-minded parents is generally say never measure your child from your standards of life, right? A child is a unique identity. It's not your miniature version of the child might do so many things which you didn't think of doing, right? So you need to understand this is a unique personality and they have their own potential. Being open-minded is not being rigid about things.
Okay.
That you need to be able to face situations as it comes, right? But a truthful child starts off with number one, you role modeling yourself, right? And of course never giving lenience to them, saying that I am not going to buy a lie from you, right? It has to be a family rule, maybe hung on your door saying nobody lies in this house. We have a good relationship, we can talk about it.
Alright, so you basically have to have an open and honest relationship within the household in order to raise a truthful child.
Try to avoid reacting. Most parents react too much.
Okay, like you said, like yelling and defending
themselves. Labeling and bringing up the past. Most of the time when you do one mistake, the time,
they remember it for the entire
life.
Decade.
So they need to understand, this is a mistake, let's move on, face the future, not the past.
Okay, so number one is role modeling. 2 is set clear boundaries, set realistic expectations, and number 3 is to forgive and forget and have an open relationship.
You don't forget, but you don't bring it up.
Forget at the moment. Let's bring it up later in mind, but don't bring it up like to the child.
And don't make excuses for your children. They need to sort it out for themselves.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that you mentioned that they have their own personality. I think most of our parents keep forgetting that.
And
no pun intended.
They forget how smart kids are.
Yes.
And they think that they can catch them doing anything, but there are instances where children come and tell me, like preteens will say that they wish they could have someone to talk to, because the biggest problem they have is that they can't talk to their parents.
And not being able to talk to their parents, that's the reason why they go a little bit derailed away from maybe their family and their community and go seeking other pleasures out there.
Yes.
So interesting, you need to have one-on-one connection with your child. Thank you so much for being here, ma'am, and we will be seeing you very soon. If all of you missed out any of our segments, please go on www.youtube.com/mtvsportslk and you can find all the segments that you have missed on Good Morning Sri Lanka. If you need to give us any feedback or suggestions, you can also connect with us on www.facebook.com/goodmorningsrilanka. Or like Jason always says, please send us an email on mtvsports@maharaja.lk with all your suggestions, feedback, complaints, and everything that you need to say about us. So thank you so much for joining us today, ma'am. We will be seeing you tomorrow, same time, with another inspirational guest, or a couple of them actually. So have a beautiful, beautiful morning, and don't take any of this day, the moments, for granted. Bye bye. Have a lovely day.